Hey, I'm Paige Feldman, writer, director, producer, and I'm looking to reinvent the romantic comedy for the 21st century. And here on this YouTube channel, I'm looking to share my process with all of you. Writers, filmmakers, creatives, anyone who loves telling stories. Today, I want to talk about the inner monologue. You know, that voice inside your head that narrates everything you do and just won't shut up. At least that's what I assume it's like, because y'all, I don't have one. So for the longest time, I thought an inner monologue was just a narrative device, a way for writers to easily communicate the thoughts of their main characters or side characters or any characters really without having to make them exposition dump to the audience / to another character who already knew everything they were thinking or saying. But apparently, I found out a few years ago that that's just not true. And that people including my sister actually, have a voice inside their head that is narrating constantly what they're doing and what they're thinking. Me, I don't have one. Now, that doesn't mean that my thoughts are quiet or that my brain is empty. Not at all. It's just that my thoughts don't manifest as a voice. They manifest as a feeling or as images. If I'm feeling really happy, sometimes they'll be like a sun or a fire, just like a big amorphous yellow blob that's like bouncing kind of and like reaching towards a pink one, and then it like sort of coalesces into like this goldy silvery sunsetty sort of thing. I'm trying to explain it, but it's kind of defies explanation. It's images. My thoughts manifest as images. So thoughts come to me in like a blur of image and movement and emotion and feeling, and it's all of these things, and I understand them innately, but I cannot describe them. And then when I do want to speak, I have to translate that vibe, emotion, image, feeling into a word or a feeling, because I'm feeling the feeling, but I'm not thinking I am happy. So I find this helps with writing, especially when I'm writing a screenplay, because in my daily life, I'm used to taking these images and transcribing them into words so that other people can understand them, so that I can, like converse and have relationships with people and exchange thoughts and ideas. And so when I'm writing, sometimes I'm just describing the image that I see in my head, or trying to find an image or a setting or a look between people that matches the feeling. And then it becomes pretty easy to transcribe, because this like amorphous blob that I was talking about suddenly becomes a sunny day at the beach. I'm feeling it now, like the brightness of the sun and just the luminescence of the waves and the saturation of the color and this just overwhelming feeling of being in the moment. It kind of feels like a superpower in a way. But that exuberance and buoyancy that I'm talking about, as far as that day at the beach goes, even if it's a scene that's between two people in a dark room, I have the sense of the feeling that I'm searching for. And so when I'm writing the scene, if I don't get the same feeling that I want to get when I'm thinking about the scene, I know I haven't hit the right moment yet. So it's not just about transcribing what I see in my head, it's about transcribing the emotional resonance, finding that clarity, and finding a way to make other people feel that moment. And as much as this feels like a superpower for me, there's also a downside to it. Like, for instance, it takes me a minute to think of thoughts. It's also a wonder that I'm really good at foreign languages. It's easy for me to pick them up. I am near fluent in French. I'm getting through the Spanish Duolingo, and I'm also teaching myself Japanese. I went to Mexico recently and was able to understand, I would say in total, about 65 to 70% of what was spoken to me after a year and a half of just doing Duolingo nightly. The difficult thing for me is not understanding other languages. It's speaking other languages with a clear fluency and an ease, because often, and the only language I'm really close to being able to do this with is French, so often when I'm trying to speak French, I'll take a minute, I'll have to translate the thought that I'm thinking into words, and they typically come in English. And then that English word has to be translated to French, so I'm a little bit slow there. It can be sped up after a glass or two of wine, or in the case of being fairly emotional about things, like I once cursed a guy out in French when I was in Morocco because he wouldn't stop trying to help my friend move her bags. Obviously, he was either trying to steal them or extort us for some sort of tip and hold them hostage. Unless I am inebriated the right amount, I guess, or really angry, there is this gap here that I'm working to close it, because being fluent in 4 languages is just a general lifelong goal of mine. But even though it is difficult for me to speak in a really fluent manner, even in English, you notice that I'm taking pauses in the middle of sentences where someone might not usually take a pause. And that is because I'm letting my mouth catch up with my brain and find the correct words. And I've trained myself out of mostly using filler words when I'm in the middle of a sentence, because I've been told that it's more professional that way. And also because I've noticed that when I do that, when I just let the silence sit while I'm thinking, people act as if I am taking a more considered tack to what I'm saying, and to the conversation we're having, especially in a business context. Despite this, I think having to translate from my inner monologue helps me a lot with writing dialogue, because all the translating I do on a regular basis forces me to think about the best way to say something and think about multiple versions of saying those things. My dialogue is about feeling, and I communicate that a lot in rhythm. So if 2 people are speaking very fast, snappy, in the same cadence, then that shows that they're simpatico with each other. But if there's something off about the rhythm, one of them is speaking slow, measured, and the other one is answering in short, snappy, then there's a certain offness. They're not quite on the same page with one another. Maybe they're antagonistic towards each other. Maybe they're wary towards one another. So I communicate a lot in words, but also in the general vibe of how the dialogue is written and what it feels like to me. Again, searching for the feeling. And because I'm always looking for a feeling, I'm also open to changes when I'm directing. I'm open to changes in dialogue, but also in stage direction. So often I'll write a placeholder of laugh, or growls, or rolls eyes, or sighs. And actors will often, because this is how they've been trained, and it's great to be trained that way, will do exactly what's on the page. And if you've ever heard an actor laugh in a place where the script tells them to, but they don't feel motivated to laugh, it is fake as hell, and it's funny in a bad way. So when I hear that when I'm directing, I'm not listening for the laugh. I'm listening for the vibe behind the laugh. And if I hear the wrong vibe, that's my signal to talk to the actor and say, all right, hey, I know it says laughs, but what are you feeling here? Are you confused about why you should laugh? Do you know why it's funny? Or are you just not feeling a laugh? And if they're not feeling a laugh, then it becomes a discussion about either, okay, how do we make this funny? Is this something you need to reposition your mental state towards? Is it something that your scene partner needs to work on with their delivery? Or are you just feeling a smile? And a smile may be the thing that I'm looking for. It may have the same vibe as a laugh, because I just want this one character to connect with the other in a positive way, showing that they understand each other. And the smile, especially a close-up of one, can communicate a lot of that feeling of security and comfort. So my focus is less on the actual words and more on getting an actor to the right emotional level, or to the emotional level that I was at and that I know that this script should be at. So while not having an inner monologue can be difficult, especially when I'm speaking in English or another language, and I've chosen to do these YouTube videos for some reason, overall, I really enjoy it. My mind, despite having a lot of mental imagery flitting by, is relatively quiet. And I love the pictures. I love that my thoughts throughout the day are about emotional truth ultimately. I feel like being forced to find words makes my brain extra elastic, which is really cool. And while there are challenges with my medium of choice, with writing, it also, I think, makes me a better director, because my favorite thing is working with actors and helping them build their relationships between themselves and the character, themselves and their scene partner, and the characters with each other. And because I'm searching for emotional truth, it makes the process super collaborative, because I don't get precious about my words. Well, not always. Part of not having an inner monologue is making sure that I'm choosing the exact right words for the feeling that is inside me that I want to convey to the world. That is what not having an inner monologue is all about, at least for me. I'd love to hear your experiences in the comments, whether you have an inner monologue with words and all or not, because I'm really curious. I've heard a lot about people who have inner monologues with the words in their head, but not a lot about people who don't have inner monologues, apart from my own experience. So please share your thoughts in the comment. Give this a thumbs up if this has taught you something new about how people think, or if you just liked the video. And I'll see y'all in the next one when I discuss more about my process right here on Cake Fight Presents.